Carrying on from where we left off. Now I've got a little bit of this filler, this material left over, and I'm going to create what we call a coupling coat. I've mentioned it many times. So what I'm going to do is just smear a little bit of this stuff out over the back of this section over here. Get all the rest of it out of the cup. Now it's very thick and goopy at this point because I used it to create the fillets all the way around the whole perimeter, as you can see. And also I'm using a sucker stick. So the sucker stick creates this nice radius fillet in here. And we can just smear any excess off. Just make sure we get it into the corners. A little bit missing over there. There we go. Put it over here. Right, so that will allow me now to get the fabric nicely up and around the corners. Now a little bit of resin that I had left over, I'm going to use that to now wet out these little bits of filler that's on the top of the mold here, and you can see now how easy I can spread it out. So this is now creating my coupling coat. Obviously I've got to be careful not to take it out of the 90-degree corners. That must stay, obviously. So this resin is just wetting out mostly this stuff on the top here and smearing it out and creating this beautiful slurry across the top of the mold, which will definitely help with print through blocker. I'm going to be using 163 gram cloth anyway, but it doesn't have a very, very pronounced pattern fabric because it's quite light. And there we go. So we can just, now this also serves another purpose which is very, very helpful and very useful. When we try and put fabric down onto very sticky gel coat, it's quite difficult to, if you put it down in the wrong position, to pick it up and move it is kind of difficult. So using some nice resin, as I've got here, I've put like a nice coating of resin over the back of this, and then the fabric is sort of not going to be, this is not sticky yet because this is only freshly mixed. So there we go. So we got a nice coupling coat over the whole back of the mold. Smear it out nicely. Nice and thin, evenly coated. I've still got my fillets in the corners, especially here where the edge of the leading edge comes. That's very important that that's nicely supported. You don't want any chipping and breaking away of the mold. Right, so now we can start with the fabric. Now this is at 45 degrees, so my first layer I'm just going to put in my hand just like that, and that little piece that I cut off earlier in the demo, we'll just use that to fill that little gap. And another piece, slight overlap. Don't need a hang of a lot of overlap. Now when you're overlapping, it's fine to do an overlap on a mold like this. Just make sure that the fabric comes out the ends over there because you're going to trim this off later. If you do multiple layers, just avoid getting all your joints in the same place. So stagger your joints. If you are going to be putting joints like this, don't put the other joint here, rather stagger it off over there. But this is just one layer of 163 gram that I'm putting down first. Now it's cut at 45 degrees, so it's also can distort very easily. So you'll notice how carefully I kind of pick it up and plock it down over here. Right. And you can have a look. I mean, because it's cut at 45, the fibers can slide very easily over each other. So I've stretched this out into a real thin. I can widen it up as well. So it is a little bit too wide. So I'm going to trim it down a bit. Got my trusty cutter on my cutting table behind me. There we go, just slice that off. And yeah, I've got my first layer of fabric down. Now, for those of you that think mold making is so difficult, you can just see how pretty simple it actually is if you just follow some basic principles. Now, I've got a couple of strips here, which I'll use to come up on the corners over here. Just little offcuts. So my first layer of fabric is down. That strip that I cut off just now I can use again. It's a bit long. There we go. And right, and you can see how the fabric has actually absorbed quite a bit of the resin from the first layer. So I can just now dab with, don't need a hang of a lot of resin, but I'm going to put multiple layers down, so a little bit excess resin right now is not too critical. And a lot of sort of more softer brushing and dabbing than heavy brush strokes. It's just otherwise you end up moving the fabric all over the show. Alright, I'm going to mix up some more resin because I obviously need quite a bit more for the second, third and fourth layers. I'm going to put 3 layers of 410 gram down on the back of this 163 gram. So the 163 is a nice fine fabric. It also helps from a print through blocker. Print through is basically caused by little shrinkage in the resin in the fabric, and that little bit of shrinkage in the fabric just ever so slightly pulls the gel coat and creates that fabric print through onto the surface of your mold. So 2 layers of gel coat. The first layer, remember, is probably 45 minutes into, maybe even an hour now, into its cure, which is getting nice and tough already. The microfiber filler coupling coat is also helping to stop this print through issue. Right, so, and also be very careful when you're working like this, is don't dab hard into the corners, because it's quite easy to distort and push that fillet out, so you'll end up with stuff on either side of the actual where you want it. So just be very careful, don't over push. It's quite soft at this point. Right, so my first layers of fabric is down, and I'm going to just position all the first layer of 410 gram in place. So we can put the first layer of 410, just making sure that I don't fold the 163 down into the mold. Right, first layer in. Right, my joint, missed my joint, so this one, there's a joint here, so I'm going to put the joint somewhere else. And can see how easy, because of the fillet, how easy it is for this fabric to go around the corner. Now, one other thing to bear in mind whenever you're doing a layup or you're working with fabric, if you do have to get fabric into a corner, if the fibers are running at 90 degrees to the corner, they have a hard time bending and staying in that corner. So putting them at 45, the fibers at 45 degrees also softens the bend in the actual fiber and makes it go around the corner much more easily. In this case, I'm also helping that bend by putting a fillet in there. Just some little tips. Let's put this first layer down, and then, as I say, I'm going to mix up some more resin, so I'll stop this and start the video again near the end. Okay, this is a bit long. Oops, now I made it too short, but it's fine. I can put a little piece in the corner here, which I have got over here. And get that coming out the edge. Again, make sure that you don't fold the 163 gram down in. There we go. And this 410 also conforms beautifully to shapes and corners. So there's my first layer of 410 down. It's already starting to absorb some of the resin. There's a little bit left over in the cup. So I'm just going to pour that down the center. And I'll use the brush to dab that through. Right, so I'm just going to stop the video now, and I'll carry on after I've put down about, well, when I've got the third layer on, and I'll just show you the last little bit.